There is a certain quiet atmosphere that surrounds those born between 1965 and 1980, a feeling that is hard to name, easy to sense once you slow down and listen, because Generation X grew up in the space between eras, in the soft static between analog warmth and digital precision, learning early how to rely on themselves while the world seemed busy reinventing itself around them. And this shaped a psychology that feels both sturdy and inward, like a house built to withstand storms, but designed for solitude. Many of them learned independence not as a slogan, but as a daily habit, walking home alone after school, figuring things out without a constant safety net, absorbing the unspoken message that self-sufficiency was not heroic, but necessary. And over time, this settled into a calm realism, a sense that life does not always explain itself and often will not offer applause for endurance. They grew up watching institutions wobble, authority figures disappoint, and promises fail to land the way they were advertised. So skepticism became less of an attitude and more of a reflex, not loud or dramatic, but steady, practical, and quietly protective, the kind that says trust is earned slowly, and words matter less than patterns. This generation learned early how to read between the lines, how to detect spin, how to recognize when optimism is being sold too aggressively. And instead of rejecting hope entirely, they learned to temper it, to keep expectations low enough to survive disappointment without bitterness, which is why their resilience often looks understated, almost invisible, like a muscle that has been used for so long it no longer flexes for attention. Emotionally, many Gen X individuals developed a self-contained way of coping, not because they lacked feeling, but because they learned that feelings were something you carried privately, something you processed quietly, sometimes through humor that leaned dry or ironic, sometimes through music that felt like a place to rest, sometimes through a deep loyalty to a small circle rather than a wide network. Their humor often carries a subtle edge, not to wound, but to survive, a way of naming reality without pretending it is prettier than it is. And this humor became a psychological tool, allowing them to soften disappointment without denying it. Growing up during economic uncertainty and shifting family structures taught many of them adaptability, a kind of emotional flexibility that allows them to move between roles without losing themselves, to adjust without announcing the adjustment, to rebuild without needing validation. And this shows up later as a calm competence that younger generations often sense but struggle to articulate. They are comfortable with contradictions, able to be both cynical and hopeful, independent yet deeply loyal, skeptical of systems but committed to people. And this balance creates an inner steadiness that does not depend on trends or external approval. Their relationship with work often reflects this psychology, valuing autonomy over prestige, substance over image, preferring to be trusted rather than managed. And when they disengage, it is rarely dramatic, more like a quiet withdrawal when something no longer feels honest. Gen X learned patience not because they were taught to wait, but because waiting was unavoidable. And this patience matured into an ability to sit with uncertainty without panicking, to understand that not everything resolves quickly, and that some things simply unfold in their own time. They carry a deep memory of life before constant connectivity, which gives them a unique psychological anchor, a sense that silence is not emptiness, boredom is not a failure, and solitude can be restorative rather than alarming. Relationships for them are often built slowly, with trust layered gently over time, and once that trust exists, it tends to be durable because it was not given lightly. And when bonds break, the grief is often processed inwardly, without spectacle, with a quiet dignity that reflects how they have always handled loss. There is also a tenderness beneath their guarded exterior, a sensitivity sharpened by having to grow up a little too early. And when they care deeply, often expressing it through presence, reliability, and action rather than words. Their psychology holds a long view of life, shaped by watching cycles repeat, trends rise and fall, And this gives them a grounded perspective that does not rush to declare the world broken or saved, but simply observes, adapts, and keeps going. Even now, as the world accelerates, Gen X often stands as a steady midpoint, translating between generations, understanding both the freedom of disconnection and the power of innovation, holding space for complexity without needing to simplify it. And if you sit with their story long enough, listening to the pauses between their words, you can feel the calm strength of a generation that learned to survive quietly, think critically, love selectively, and carry on without needing to announce that they were doing so at all.